Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Art Podcast. Your third host, Colin Savala and Braden Cox, as we record here on Sunday, October 20th. And our beloved New York Yankees have just clinched their berth to their first World Series since 2009. I think Braden and I were both 9 years old the last time this happened. So we're
Yeah.
pretty stoked here as Yankees
We didn't
fans.
even know each other.
They didn't even know each other until we were what, like 16, 17 ish, probably.
Something like that. Yeah, it was like mid high school area.
I was nine. I do have a pretty good memory of the 2009 World Series. Actually,
So do I.
I remember the A-Rod home run. Remember the Hideki Matsui home run. I remember those. But yeah, we're here 15 years later. The Yankees finally make it back to the World Series. Been quite a long 15 years. Kind of a lot of years that were pretty heartbreaking as well. Especially
Yeah.
recently. But yeah, Brain are going to give you our reaction to our Yanks clinching a World Series berth here. And we're both just super stoked. Been playing great ball lately. And yeah, we're gonna get right into it right here on In the Yard, Bray. I know you called me last night as soon as they clinched.
Yeah.
We were
That was
obviously
a
both pretty
fun
excited.
quick FaceTime there.
Yes. Um, and kind of each every game, not even just the CS, but every DS was like pretty much a nail biter. Like there was never not really many laughers. Game one of the CS was kind of a laugher, I think. Or game
Yeah.
it was game one or game two.
Game one
Um,
and game two, they both kind of
it
won
was game two, yeah.
convincingly.
Right,
I was
right,
at game one, and that was the one where Stanton hit the homer.
right. Soto had the
They
homer
had
too,
they had
didn't
all
he?
sorts of troubles,
Yeah,
like Bo Naylor behind the plate.
right, right.
Um, but
Yeah. So game one, game two were like they were close, but they weren't like laughers. Like it was kind of in the middle there. But then come game three, four, five, those were pretty intense. Those were pretty intense down the stretch. But Yankees were able to pull it out obviously and beat the Cleveland Guardians 4-1 in the ALCS.
yeah, uh, honestly, like. As far as obviously we're excited, right? Because we've been doing this is like our second, I guess, full season doing this. And going into the regular season, like when we did our preseason picks, we both had our New York Yankees making the playoffs, but I think we both had them as like the last team in,
Mm-hmm.
right? From
Mm-hmm.
from right.
Yeah,
And
we
we didn't
did.
talk
I
about it
did.
prior. We did our own picks and we both had them as like the last wild card. And we thought
There's
we were just like, we just don't know about the pitching
Yeah,
and we
there's a
don't know
lot of
about the
questions.
bullpen.
Definitely a lot of
And is
questions.
Soto and Judge enough? And we'll, what's gonna happen with Stanton and what's gonna happen with Glaber? And we had a bunch of question marks. And I think the reason why we kind of resulted to that was we had watched the previous like 6, 7 seasons, and we went to multiple ALCSs. And the last time that the Yankees were in the ALCS, it was laughable
Mm-hmm.
when they played the Astros. They got swept by the Astros. You knew basically going in that it felt like the Yankees didn't really have any shot in that series. And then there's obviously the heartbreaker with Chapman and Jose Altuve home run.
Yeah, that was tough.
So,
Dude, that was actually 5 years ago to this day.
bro, I remember like texting you when that happened. And
Yeah.
I remember you sending a Snapchat video of you
Yeah.
reacting
That
to
came up
that.
on my memories today. Came up on my
Yeah,
Snapchat
bro.
memories
I
like, wow,
remember I thought about that. I was telling someone about that.
I
I
should
was
have
like,
sent it to you.
yeah.
I should have been
But
like, crazy how much a difference 5 years makes. I was just talking about
yeah,
the go ahead.
yeah, and like you said, there's been a lot of like heartbreak, like regardless of what fans or fans of other teams will say, like it's been 15 years and some teams haven't even like really experienced anything like it. Like some haven't won a World Series, right? But to be so close so many times
Mm-hmm.
and to fall to a team, and I hate to keep bringing up the Houston Astros, right? But like to fall that many times to that same opponent, it stings after a while. And they didn't see Houston these playoffs, but it's kind of like all that like doesn't matter as much now because you're living in this moment. So this next week leading up into the World Series matchup is just gonna be like buckle up, like
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it because you don't know when you're gonna get another experience
Mm-hmm.
like this. So I'm just overall very excited, and we're obviously gonna talk about the games as a whole. Like you said, that game one, game two, it felt like that the Yankees were the better team in both those games, and for a decent amount of game 3 in Cleveland, it felt like they were the better team, and or at least to start the game they didn't, and then Judge and Stanton kind of tied it, and then you're like you had life, and to lose it the way that you lost it
Yeah,
felt like
that was
all the
tough.
life was sucked out of the
Yeah,
Yankees. But
yeah.
then they fire back the next night, and then obviously last night with the Soto home run. I don't want to spoil it too much. We're gonna get into these games a little bit more, but um, it's just been like literally the past week has had all the emotions. And
Hmm.
that's what October baseball is all about. I don't know how you're a sports fan and don't enjoy what just happened, because like I don't really know of any other sport that's giving you something like that
Mm-mm.
in a
No.
week span. Like it's just all the roller coaster of emotions on both sides. Um, just crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's honestly similar like adrenaline rushes to March Madness, where it's just like
Yeah.
when those games like could get down to 2 minutes left, just back and forth. But it was like
Yeah.
this for multiple innings throughout these playoffs, especially on the AL side of things. NLCS, obviously, those games have been more lopsided.
Yeah.
On the NLCS side. But yeah, we're here to talk about the Yankees, and just overall, what an accomplishment.
Yeah.
A lot of, like we said, a lot of questions regarding the team at the beginning of the season. Started off really hot, and then we went that awful stretch from like June to July,
Yeah.
and they
Where
just looked terrible for like
where we
about
had
two
we
months
had
here.
we had full discussions on this podcast saying like this team is not it right now, and we weren't sure if they would ever be it this year. Um, I would say like yeah, like they obviously kicked it into gear later in the year, but even going into the playoffs, we were like still like we felt decent, but we didn't feel like
Yeah,
necessarily like this team can win the World
yeah,
Series,
and
right?
also with
Because
the
they still had
postseason.
a bunch of holes, it felt
Yeah,
like, but everything's kind of come together very
yeah.
nicely.
Yeah. I think honestly at the very end like of the regular season they kind of found their identity like
Yeah.
just in time. Like they had kind of had that full like 1 through 9 batting order kind of set
Yeah.
finally, because there was we saw mix and matches all year, but they kind of had that set, a couple switches, lefty, righty platoons here and there, but pretty much set for the most part. And then I think another big thing was like, the bullpen. It took Aaron Boone until what, like September 1st to realize that Clay
Figure
Holmes
that out.
wasn't a closer. So they moved him down as kind of like a seventh inning guy, and then go with Tommy in the eighth, and then Weaver. So I think they kind of had a better identity on the bullpen side of things as well. I think that's also helped a ton. I want to mention that. Um, but yeah, I know. And if you haven't been following Yankees all year, it's been a rough patch for Clay Holmes as a closer. But right toward the end of like the year there, they moved Clay Holmes to the seventh, and then Tommy Kahnle was the eighth inning guy, and then Luke Weaver has kind of been the set closer, and he's
Closer.
been doing a heck of a job doing it. So yeah, I think them finding that identity definitely helped them, and make this run here to the World Series.
Yeah. And just as like a quick note, like obviously, like I'm gonna shout out the bullpen because I feel like they really stepped up. Like someone like Mark Later Jr. 72 hours ago wasn't even
Right,
in Cleveland.
right.
Wasn't even like he wasn't there. Like
I
they
mean, he was probably there. He just like wasn't.
yeah, but like he wasn't like you know what I mean? Like he didn't. I don't know if he really like. He may have been like ready to go. Like they all say, like oh, like it's just next
Hmm.
man up mentality.
Right.
But like realistically, he probably didn't think that he was gonna get a shot unless it was like a blowout game on either side, and he was just gonna be there to kill innings, right?
Hmm.
Um, but like props to him. Like he came in and did it. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
as we talked about this stuff all regular season about how we had questions about the bullpen and all that. But when you're gonna look back at this, regardless of how anything plays out the rest of the way, right? No one's gonna remember like what Mark later did in July, right? They're gonna remember Mark later in Cleveland in games 4 and 5 when Yanks have both opportunities to like take over the series and to come in and to essentially not screw it up because that's all you were
Yeah.
asking
I
him
mean, he came in some high leverage situations, and he's kind of slammed the door multiple
and
times. I think in game 4 and game 5.
And I'm
Um,
sure, and I sent it to you when they announced that what's his name was going off the roster for Mark Later. Was it
Hamilton,
Hamilton? What?
yeah,
Yeah, when Hamilton went off the roster, like I still felt good, but my heart kind of sank because I was like, dude, like this guy hasn't. When was the last time this guy's pitched
right.
in a like big important game, right?
Mm.
And
Probably never. He's on the Cubs
realistically,
for
like
a
it was
while,
like the
yeah.
first time 2 days ago, and he did it twice. Like
Right.
I can't be mad there. Um, Another thing that I just wanted to add real quick, not to get like too off topic, but the thing I love about baseball, right, is like the Luke Weaver story. Like this guy, like he bounced around from teams. He was on the Cardinals, he was on the Diamondbacks, the Royals, the Reds, the Mariners, right?
He's
He's
he's my new immaculate grid guy.
he's 31 years old, man, right? And he he was like sent down to triple A. Like he wasn't like people like didn't like know of Luke Weaver as being anything really like special, like could do these high leverage situations for a playoff team that's trying to win a World Series.
Mhm.
And like the thing that's so beautiful about baseball is to September 12th, 2023, the Yankees claim Weaver off waivers.
Right.
A year ago, they claimed this. Nobody
Yeah.
wanted this
They
guy,
probably I think
and
that's the
now
Matt
he's
I was gonna
bad.
say, I think that's the Matt Blake effect. They see a guy and like, okay, this guy has some stuff. Maybe we could work with him a little bit, get his control, get his velo up a little bit, and then make him, a dominant bullpen guy. And that's exactly what he's become at this point. I think so. I
Yeah,
think a lot of credit goes to Matt Blake. He's kind of fixed a lot of, especially on the bullpen side of things.
yeah,
He's definitely worked with a lot of guys who were under the radar for years. And then kind of just find these guys out of nowhere and say, you know what, let's make this guy uh, a stud
yeah,
bullpen piece and help us
yeah,
win games.
yeah.
So
And
credit to Matt Blake there.
I'm just pulling this off of Wikipedia, right? Because it was the first thing that came up. But like he was in the Paul Goldschmidt trade with the Diamondbacks and Cardinals. He only played like I don't even know if he played any games realistically with the Royals. The Reds, he was on the Reds for like 5 games. He was on, well, no, he was with them a little bit longer. He was with the Mariners for like 5 games. The Yankees claimed him off waivers. He made 3 starts in 2023, 3.38 ERA, 16 strikeouts, 13.2 innings. So like nothing like awful, nothing
No,
great.
yeah.
Like, just kind of a guy that you're like, oh, like I'm not gonna even remember who this guy is in a few years. And now he's like a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Like
And
people
great
love this
personality
guy.
too. Great personality.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Funny.
so
Really
again,
funny.
I'm basically just drilling into the point that like there's just something special about this sport when it comes to stuff like that. It's all about finding the piece in the right on the right team, in the right city, in the right position, right? Because like you said with Clay Holmes, it's like he was regardless of what you think about it, he was an all-star closer in the All-Star game this year, right? Whether that was deserved or not, we could sit here and we could talk about that, right? But he was on the roster for that, right? And now, like, we wouldn't even really think about putting him in a closing situation. We got Luke Weaver now, like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just something special about that. So, and I know I focus mostly on Later and Clay Holmes and like Luke Weaver here, but across the board, you mentioned Kaylee, like he's been great. I don't want to forget
Tim
anybody
Hill.
here.
Tim Hill.
Tim Hill,
Yeah.
like
He ate some
dog.
innings. Yeah.
He they're playing their role. We're not expecting you to go
Yeah.
out there and move mountains. Jake Cousins yesterday.
Yeah. Jay Cousins as well. Kirk Cousins' cousin. Jay Cousin.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, just
And then as far
bullpen.
as
They
the
knew the
starting
role. They knew the
pitching,
role and they got the
yeah,
job done.
yeah. As far as the starting pitching, like Rodon had that one shaky start, and like he pitched in I guess 3 playoff games. The one against Kansas City was a little bit shaky,
Mm-hmm.
but both against Cleveland, like he was dialed in. Whole like a little bit shaky in his one start against. I guess he pitched 2 games against Cleveland. One of them he was shaky in.
No, I think he pitched
Um.
one. He only pitched one against Cleveland.
Oh, and then it was two against Kansas
Two
City.
against
You're right.
KC.
Yeah, the one he pitched for. Cleveland, he was a little bit shaky, but he wasn't like bad. You know what I mean? You still
Yeah.
trust that guy.
The
Clark
game
Schmidt,
one, the game one that we went to was like,
yeah,
remember? That's when he pitched. Then he
yeah,
pitched like game, I think it was game 3 or 4, but game
yeah, or something like
4
that.
against the
Something
Royals.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Clark Schmidt did his thing. Luis Heel hadn't pitched in what, a month,
Mm-hmm.
roughly. Went out there and to me, like, was looked very impressive. Like,
He
did what
just
he needed to do.
he has great stuff. It's just he just throws too many balls. Too many balls. He
Yeah,
gets behind the count. But he labored out there and he ended up eating some innings, not doing a decent job. I won't say great job, but definitely a decent job.
yeah,
Just to I can't complain that much because the Guardians only scored 2 runs in game 5, I think.
yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, we can get into the bats. We can talk about the games, whatever you want to do. But I think just overall, very impressive stuff out of the pitching,
Yeah.
and hopefully they can
I
keep it up
know I know
going
some
into
fans.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say last note about the bullpen. I know some fans um were a little upset about Clay Holmes kind of letting up the go ahead home run. I mean, I can't really fault Clay Holmes there. He was eating innings. He
Dealt
was
it.
pitching almost
Yeah,
every day. Same thing with Weaver. You could tell they're just getting batters see them more and they also get more fatigued.
yeah,
But yeah, I think this week here between now and the World Series is definitely going to help them out, get some
yeah,
rest, and they'll be hopefully ready to go. Come game 1 in the World Series
yeah. No,
Friday.
absolutely. I'm excited to see what these guys got.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
All right,
So,
let's
do
go to
you want to
offensive
just?
side.
Yeah, let's just go. Like, we'll just go top to bottom, offensive and defensively, because some of these guys made some really, really stepped up to the plate, literally, as far as hitting the ball. And then some guys were also great defensive players. So
Mm-hmm.
we could just start with whoever you want.
Start with whoever. Do you want to start with like an obvious guy, or do you want to go like more like a low
No,
key?
let's do the obvious guy. Give me the first guy that comes to mind.
I mean, you got to start with Giancarlo Stanton, ALCS MVP, right?
Yeah,
I
man. I was
mean,
hoping we'd start there.
I mean, at the end of the day, he has his regular season lumps,
Yeah.
but he always, always, always shows up when it matters most in October. And that's the Yankee way. And he understands what it takes to be a Yankee, what he has to do to be a Yankee. You can
Yep.
tell by his demeanor, his post game interviews. He's saying, we're happy, but the job's not done yet, kind of thing. So he's all business. He's locked in right now, and I don't know why the Guardians have been pitching to him with Jazz right behind him. I don't can't wrap my head around it. I think on the
Yeah.
homer yesterday he was down 0-2. So was that right? Was he down 0-2?
I'd
I
have to
think he
go back
was.
and check.
He was down 0-2, worked to count the full, and then hit the 2-run homer and tie it.
His pitch around him.
I
Like, I,
know.
I
And
didn't get that either.
make him swing. But he wasn't chasing out of the zone. Those 3 balls, like they were trying to get him to chase,
Yeah.
but he didn't chase. And then the 3-2 pitch, they came him like a hanging slide right down the middle, and next thing you know, it was a tied game. So yeah, just Giancarlo Stanton, just what a run here, um, and just super super excited for him. And this is what he's here for.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking a 1.179 OPS in playoffs, 34 plate appearances, 10 hits, two doubles, five homers, 11 RBIs, five walks. Like, you can't ask for much more, right? And I think that the only like nick you can have on him, and I'm not scared to like admit it, but like he's just slow. But if he's just gonna go up to the plate and hit like homers like that, like I don't really care. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, like,
Remember when there was guys saying there's like after like game 2 of the Royals game, there's people talking
yeah,
about benching him.
Dominguez.
Like, come on,
Yeah, for
are you
Dominguez.
kidding me?
And listen, like, I wasn't like aboard that train fully, but I understood the argument to a degree,
Right,
simply
right.
because like the way that the Royals kind of play, I don't know how like successful they were with this in the playoffs, but like during the regular season is like they gave me a little bit of like Arizona Diamondbacks from last year vibes, where they just kind of like they steal bases, they get base knocks, like they just do it fundamentally really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I was like, you kind of have to counter with that. Like, you can't just necessarily have a guy that's going to go out there and hope that he hits a home run. Like, you kind of have to have speed. So I understood the argument to a degree, but when Stanton decided to hit like a home run at night, like obviously that shut the door on everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I can kind of sort of understand where they were initially coming from. But like obviously he stepped up in a huge way. Despite like obviously like one of the greatest at bats that I've seen, at least that I can remember with Juan Soto last night in extra innings. Like you had to give it to Stanton because I think he hit a home run in 4 out of 5 games.
Yeah,
And
big
they
home
were
runs
all
too.
like they weren't like the Yankees are down like 10-2 and he hit a
Hmm.
solo shot. Like they were all like critical high leverage moments in the games that alter the
Yeah,
the final score. So
right. All right, yeah, let's move on. Brandon says we have about 10 minutes left here.
yeah, go for
Um,
it.
so so I think I did just want to say game three. I just want to say the way the Yankees bounced back after game three,
Yeah,
onto game four, because game three was heartbreaking. It had the big home
yeah,
runs, um, by Stan and Judge, or Judge and Stan, I should say, in that order. And then, bullpen can't, like I said, don't really want to fault them because they've been great up until then. I think they just got a little fatigued.
yeah,
But game four was scary because if Cleveland ties the series 2-2 and they have one more in Cleveland, it's going to be good. Would have been tough because a lot of questions. But they came out game four, um, ready to play. They had a lead for a majority of the game. And then the Guardians did tie at one point, and then Yankees ended up holding on again. But yeah, so just wanted to add that too as well. Just the way they bounced back game four was pretty cool to see. First real
yeah.
adversity I think of the postseason after that game three loss, um, but yeah, they were able to bounce back.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a huge difference between a series being tied 2-2 and being up 3-1.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
difference, right? If you go 2-2, it makes it tougher. It's guaranteeing you have to go back to the Yankee
Yeah,
Stadium and all that.
yeah, and the way
But
they
yeah,
lost too in game three was just like heartbreaking.
you,
But
it, you could have seen like you could have
yeah,
envisioned like this is going to destroy this team.
right,
Not necessarily destroy it,
right.
but you get what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
gonna screw with their psyche. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was pretty much gonna say that. The dinner I
Yeah,
had there. So let's move on. Let's move on to some more offensive guy. I
yeah.
said Giancarlo, so you go who you want to give a shout out to now.
I mean, if you're gonna open the door like that, you know, we could save him for last, but I'm not going to. We're gonna talk about Juan Soto.
Let's talk about Juan
And
Soto.
in the biggest moment, stepping up in the biggest way for the Yankees, particularly last night. Um, dude, that's why you trade for a guy like that because there's how many guys in baseball that kind of have the ability to do what he did last night. Like that was against like a really good reliever for Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Like that wasn't like that. This wasn't like some clown that they had to throw out there because it was a bullpen. Like this was a guy they trusted,
Yeah.
and I don't know. He fouled off what 5 pitches,
Yeah,
four or
something like
five
that. I
pitches,
think pitch that about 9 or 10 pitches. Yeah.
and it's just the way he does it. Like the one strike that was low, like he stood there and he's shaking his head. He's like, okay, it's on. And then he starts fouling him off and he's shaking his head. He's like, okay, I'm all over you. Eventually you're gonna have to give me what I want. And he just threw him something high and he just sent it.
It
The
wasn't a
ball
bad
felt
pitch either. It was kind of
no,
tough.
it
It was a little
wasn't a bad
fastball. I
pitch.
just
It
turned on
felt
it.
like the ball was in the air for 30
Yeah.
seconds. Like
Yeah.
I was waiting for it to fall. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, just special stuff. I don't even really have that much to say because it's just like
I mean, it's just like
spectacular.
it is spectacular, but it's kind of like you expect this because we've seen this before in 2019 when he
Yeah,
was a rookie, right?
yeah,
So I don't want to take anything away from him because he's been outstanding.
sure.
333 average, 439 on base, 667 slugging, and then 1.106 OPS. So great. But it's like
You'll take that.
we kind of like expected this because he's just that good of a player. And like I said again, we saw it before, like 5 years ago when he was on the Nationals. They made their World Series run. So yeah, I'm excited, but I'm not like shocked that he did this because he just such a good player.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um, so yeah,
Just
Alonso.
just great stuff. I don't even really have too much to add. You know, blank check, like we
And
keep
he was
saying.
making some plays in the field too.
He was.
Yeah,
he was making some plays in the field. So definitely, because that's kind of like he's been one thing that people will knock him on is, oh, he's not that great of a right fielder. But, you know, there was nothing that I saw in this series that made me cringe that he did. You know what I mean? So I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with where he's at. I'm excited to see what he's got in his second World Series trip.
Yeah, I mean, you got the experience, so and
Yeah.
I think he generally just loves like these sort of games.
Yeah.
I think he even as good as he is in the regular season, he gets even better come the postseason. So, so yeah, just a guy, just
He lives
you
for
just
the
can't let
moment.
him leave. We'll talk about free agency, when
Yeah.
it hits,
A couple weeks. Yeah.
but yeah, Juan Soto. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you want to pick the next guy or should I just jump into it? Because I got my eye on a guy.
I'll go. I got three more in mind. I really want to shout out, but
Yeah.
how about I've been texting this, but how about Glaber Torres, man?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is way to step up. He's found his role. He's been killing it off, leading off for this team.
Man, like he's been so like he understood his role and he always been doing
Yeah.
is getting on base, just on base machine, whether it's
Yeah.
singles or walks. Let's look at his on base
Yeah. I
percentage.
don't have the stats here, but I'd love to
400 on base
see.
percentage, 297 average. I mean, Glaber Torres, and it's just another cool story because there was fans that wanted him gone. We were at in the Bronx and like on that July game, and
Yeah.
people were screaming like, "You suck, Torres! You're not going to be here." And me and you have we've always been
Yeah.
high in Glaber. We were never on that train.
Yeah. I understood the
We've always
argument because there were low points, but yeah.
yeah. But yeah, again, just the way he's come back and just has come in that role as a leadoff hitter and just dominated and done exactly what he's supposed to do. You gotta love it. And another free agent guy. We'll get into that in a few weeks here, but yeah, I just wanted to give Glaber another shout out. I love what he's doing. We like I said, we've always been high on Glaber, and he's finally showing what he could do. And we knew he had this potential, and he's been and not that he's had any crazy hard plays in the field, but I don't think he's had any errors this postseason either, which is another question mark. So yeah, I just love seeing Glaber do his thing, and hopefully continues it in the World Series.
Let me throw a quick fire stat at you that I know is going to get you amped. Ready for this? Glaber Torres, the Yankees have played 9 playoff games. Glaber Torres has reached base safely 7 times in the first inning of these playoffs. 4 hits, 3 walks. The most ever by a Yankees player in one postseason.
Yeah, that's definitely, and
That's
especially when you have guys like Soto and Judge behind you, like it's
yeah,
all you could ask for. It's all you could ask for. Um, but yeah, I just love seeing Glaber do his thing. He's having fun out there, I think, and I think he's hopefully keeps it up here and you know continues in the World Series.
yeah, man. I know we got just a few minutes left. I'm obviously gonna spotlight our captain, but just to throw a quick few names at you. Rizzo,
I would Rizzo
decent
was
stuff.
on. He was my one of my other two guys.
Rizzo,
Yeah,
I'm happy with where I'm at with Rizzo. The one game where they didn't play him and then they defensive replaced him, he seemed a little stiff, so I'm not like too angry with that. Volpe,
he's been doing great. Rizzo. I
yeah,
mean, you
I'm
can't ask for
happy.
much
I'm
more.
happy with
And you
where
could
he's
tell he's
at.
just that veteran presence in the postseason. He's done it before with the Cubs in 2016, but now he's kind of filled in that as that veteran role and just kind of guiding the younger guys who haven't really been here before. You could tell he's just someone like they look up to.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out
Um,
Rizzo too.
Obviously, shout out Volpe.
Yeah,
Shout out
Volpe.
Verdugo. There's a lot of talk about him, and he kind of stepped up. Um, and then obviously our captain, my captain, Aaron Judge. I think Stanton and Soto kind of stole the spotlight, maybe a little bit from him, but
I
I'm not
mean,
taking anything
he
away from him.
Judge just wants to
He,
win. He just wants to win. He
yeah,
doesn't care about his
and
stats.
yeah, for sure.
He's carried them to
Um,
the right. He carried. If I don't think if it was for Judge, I don't think they'd be even in the postseason to begin with.
I agree.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah, shout out our captain. And I just want to mention Anthony Volpe, 459 on base percentage this postseason, 310 average, and making plays in the field also. So I think Anthony Volpe's he's here. I think this is what he's for. Same thing with Stan, and they're here to win a World Series. That's all you could ask for.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see it. We're going to be talking a lot of it. We'll have another episode for you guys out once the matchup is set. Um, and yeah, I'm just excited to get to
Yeah,
it.
cool. All right, thank you for listening. Go Yankees, and we'll see you next time here on In the Yard. Go Yankees, and thanks for listening.
See you guys. Go Yanks.